I'm calling from Denver, Colorado. Oh, yeah, me and my comrade, Brother Eric, was trying to do some work in Denver, Colorado. And it's just me and my comrade Eric and two sons, we just stayed dedicated into martial arts training at the park, and we also patrolled the neighborhood. You know how I decided to patrol the neighborhood? The incident last year that somebody posted racist flyers on the door and say 5 points are not, the 5 points doesn't belong to niggers and Jews. Go back to the ghetto. But the 5 point is the Black historic community. And my question is, if we're not going to go to 5 point, where else are we going to go in Denver, Colorado? And there's an incident happened about nearly 2 months ago about somebody vandalized the elder's home and broken windows. They broke their windows, and there's an incident happened about two or three blocks down. They broke the elder's couple's car window and put the white swastika on their car. And it's just they posted and just speak up against the instance that happened in Ferguson and what happened in New York about Eric Garner. And the way I look at it is, if it's not safe to speak up about racism, it means we're in danger. You know what I'm saying?
Anyone would like
Hello?
to respond to that? Well, I'm going to open up the line. I'm going to open up 3680. Well, we're going to open up 7247. 7247. 7247, your line is open if you would like to respond. Okay, 7247 may have their line muted. And we're going to go ahead and open up line 8158. 8158. 8158, your line is open. I'm wondering if I can be heard. Okay. 2279. We just spoke with you. That was Muhammad, correct?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
And I'm just trying to talk about the incident, and when me and my comrade Eric, oh yes, I don't know if Sister Shaka is back in town yet, but when we try to do our work and trying to set up a group, nobody's nowhere to be found. That even though they be flying the red, black, and green or some consciousness, it's just MIA, if you know what I mean, missing in action. And I wonder why it's that. Is it because they can have knowledge but they don't apply, or they just not dedicated to the work? I mean, anybody can be a Facebook celebrity. Only they have to do is just you pick up the iPhone or get on the laptop. But the real work is out in the street.
I understand. That's good.
And I got to say, when I try to ask them a simple question on the group, only 2 people respond to my question about what do they do for the community. I mean, I'm not trying to attack them or anything. If you have some weakness or something you need to improve, just improve the group or improve yourself and go from there.
That's a good point. And we're going to get some, if you just joined the call, again, this is an open forum. We're talking about issues within the group. You perceive issues within the group. We're talking about coming together in the group. We're talking about differences of opinions in the group. We want you to voice your opinion and your thoughts about the group. So we have more people that just came on the line. What I'm going to do is I'm going to open up line 8689. That's the last four digits, 8689. Your line is open. We're gonna open up line 9052. 9052. Your line is open. Hello? 9052. All right. Well, I'm going to share my personal thoughts about what's been happening in the group. As far as I'm concerned, first things first, it's not my group. I always say that. It's not a singular movement. It's not a singular thought. It's our group, and the way I view our group is I know that there are going to be different personalities in the group. There are going to be different individuals with different ideals in the group, which I can understand and accept. And I know that just like the body heals itself, our group aligns. It will align, in my mind, I believe our group will align for the cause when people figure out where they're going to be, when they figure out what role they'll serve in our cause effectively. The group is used for information. I believe in unbiased information. I don't believe in opinions being posted in a group, and I'm not talking about anybody specifically, but what I'm saying is I don't believe in just posting opinions of others in the group. So when I post, I try to post with a question, and I try to post to get the thought process of those who are in the group, their thoughts and their hearts and their minds on a certain subject that I might post in the group. I've seen some posts from quite a few people that kind of pushes an agenda that's opinionated, and it sometimes, when you post opinions in a group, it gives off the wrong vibration to the group, because if there's no facts to back up what's being said, it often looks like something's being attacked or someone's being attacked. So I can understand why the passion in our group runs deep, because we have a lot of opinionated leaders in our group who who believe in certain things, certain values, certain perspectives. What would be good for us to understand on this call, I think, and I'm going to open up the lines and let you speak, I want to know what your perspective is on racism. This is a good start for us. What is your perspective on racism? So I'm going to go ahead and start with line 7247. What is your perspective on racism? Your line is open, 7247.
Yeah, this is Jordan Williams. I'm going to speak. Well, my feeling on racism is any injustice that is done against a race, that is done against a particular faction of culture, or even due to skin, of skin color, whether against white, whether against black, whether against Arab, whatever it is. I know a lot of us are dealing mainly with African American racism, because that is a huge dilemma in this country and in this world, of course, but I know greatly in this country as well. That is what racism is. To me, that's what that is. So whether we become pro-black and we say destroy all the white people, kill all the white people, I think we're just as racist. Or whether we are saying we're black maybe not pro-black, but black, and say destroy all the Arabs. We're still racist. So I think it's to bring justice to the race. So if we deal with African American race, yes, our goal is to seek to bring justice to this race and to let go of the oppressor. Now, if we have to do it with brute force or not, I think that varies, depending on the situation, depending on the circumstance. And not everybody is a warrior. So I think it's like what you said, King, going back to where does everybody fit? Where does everybody know who they are? Once everybody knows who they are, know what they can contribute. Some people are very diplomatic, some people are fighters, some people are mentalists, some people are lovers. Whichever way that, everybody fits, we have to bring that together and fight racism. So fight the injustice against a people. And I don't want to go in a biased way and say, against the black people, but it is against the black people right now. But right now we're coming together to fight this injustice against African Americans. And we should have that same kind of integrity for any race. So I'll say that.
All right. Thank you so much, King Williams. I'm going to go ahead and move right along. The next person's line I'm going to open up is 8158. 8158, what is your perspective on racism?
All right. Hello, everybody. I'm Mertice. One of the regarding racism and regarding what's been happening under the discussion forum, it seems as though one of the things that I posted that kind of set everybody off was when I was referring to the so-called black leaders as black devils. And I wonder if it's simply for the fact that they're black. Had they been what people think, are white leaders, and I was calling them devils, people would be in agreement. It wouldn't be such a big uproar. But just because these people are black men, does that mean that they cannot manipulate the masses to do their bidding when they're talking about, killing people because of their skin color, or they're actually doing the exact same thing that they're accusing the white supremacist systems of doing? They're doing the same exact things, and those were just some things that were being called to attention, and people were saying that there were no facts in the post. However, there were quotes that were mentioned. Those quotes were researchable. This man claims that he has a doctorate in psychology. If he does, he will be listed on the website. Regardless of what YouTube videos, he puts out, it will be on the website. He will be there, and he's not. So he hasn't produced credentials. I was listening to Little Bootsy doing an interview on racism, and he was saying about how, there's not white people breaking into his home. It's not white people who are, shooting each other for drugs, or it's not, the white people who are doing this in his community. It's the black people who are doing it to each other. And if we can't address all forms of institutionalized racism, no matter what the color is, then, maybe we should reevaluate things, basically. And actually, regarding the word race and racism, from my understanding, there's only one race. I've asked people, how many races are there? I've gotten so many different answers. I asked people, well, what are the races? So many different answers. There's not a universal education on what race is. It's just all subject to personal interpretation. When I went to Florida A&M University, I studied in mathematics education. I took an educational psychology class where, they they talked about the institutions and how they're geared to reflect a Western worldview rather than a European worldview, and they taught different things that I'm fully aware of. However, I can also see how those institutions are teaching from a certain biased perspective as well. But my teacher taught me that racist is someone who studies race. The suffix "ist" means, one who studies, just like a biologist studies biology, a scientist studies science. A racist is just simply someone who studies race, who has a knowledge of, humans. And but when we use racist, we use it to be something totally different. But that's just the progression of the human concept of the word throughout the history of, humans actually using the word. Each culture, the word transforms and changes to be something else until eventually the definition that we know it of today may not even have anything to do with the original definition unless we go back and trace, the history of these spells, these words that we're using. And I'll just leave it at that.
Thank you so much, Queen. And
my pleasure.
I'm gonna also open up the line 3177. The question is that we're presenting to the group right now is, what is your perspective on racism?
I didn't get it because it said something. It interrupted me it interrupted you as you were speaking. So could you reiterate the word?
The question is, what is your perspective on racism? That's the question that we're asking the group today.
Well, I heard one sister that when she said we are not generally a race, and race is being taught as a person that studies race. I wanted to say something about that part. If I could clear that out. If you really think about it as a thing of race of nowadays, it's not. I agree with what she said, but you got to look at it as a pond of as we as black people being a race. We're not really a race. We're not even really a nation, because the things that we do, if you were to look at it like the Olympics, if the Olympics if they were racing, then they have a torch. Well, we as a black nation, we as black people, if we were in that race, we'd be left behind. Because we always worry about the things that we're doing. We want to be better than the next person. That's not considered a race. When Jesse Owens was in the race, they had a race where everybody ran down and they passed on the torch to a person. That means that other person was anticipating. We as black people, we don't anticipate anything as a race. And I like to bring up what she said, Lil Boosie said about black people on stealing everything. Well, if you look at the statistical things about everything, black people, our crime rate is not as Caucasians make it out to be. It's like that. I live in the suburbs, and if you really look at it, I see more crimes going on in the suburbs than I do with urban areas. So when it comes down to this thing of race, I really can't say that we as a black people, we can't be a race, because we take everybody else's culture. We take Thanksgiving, we take Christmas, we take Valentine's Day. That's not a race. We even take soul food, and we claim that it's ours. That's not our food. That's scrappings that the master gave us back in the day. The massa gave us back in the day. Those are not our ethnic foods. Our ethnic foods is over in the motherland. So until we identify with who we are, then, yeah, we become a race. Until then, we're not a race. We're left behind right now. You have many other people that's saying that we're not a race either. Fashion designer Jacob the jeweler, he called us water flows. That's what he called us. Well, money spender, liquid spenders. So that's not considered a race. The Jews is a race. The Native Americans are a race. The Latino community is a race. What do we do when we go around and we lose someone? When we lose a person in death, we go around, us as black people, we go around and we collect plates for a funeral. Well, if you think about it, look what the Caucasians do. Look what the Jewish race do. Look what the Native Americans do. They already put aside insurance. they're built. They teach each other these things when they're children. We don't teach our children that. We teach our children how to buy big rims, how to buy our money in Gucci. We're keeping those people in style and having those people insurance are paid for generations to come. We as a race, we're dying out, and I really do believe that. So I don't know what else to say about that matter.
Thank you so much, and thank you so much, King, for sharing with us. If that's what you have to say, that's what you have to say. We're just sharing our thoughts and our perspectives on racism. Nothing more, nothing less. And we appreciate what you're sharing with us. And we have another caller who just joined us, and we want to make sure everyone gets a chance to speak. The question to the group is, what is your perspective on racism? So 9027, I know you just joined the line, but we want to get your thoughts on this. What is your perspective on racism? 9027, your line is open. Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Did you hear the question?
Give it to me one more time, please.
What is your perspective on racism?
Perspective on racism. Is this a deep question or?
It's however you want it to be, King.
All right. Well, my perspective on racism, I think that racism is a concept that is followed by a lot of people, like a religion is followed by a lot of people. And that's pretty much my perspective. Just like Christianity, just like Islam or Buddhism, or just like Democrats or Republicans. I'm fascinated by the concept. I think it's definitely a lucrative organization or religion, such as these political parties and religions are, other religions are. And, yeah, I think that is the way I perceive it.
Now that's an
what do you think about that?
I love it because I'm learning as I'm listening. I know I have someone who just messaged me. They said they want to respond to you, but I want to make sure first that I get everyone's perspective who has taken the time out their day to be on this line with us. And I'm going to go ahead and open up line 8689. I want to know what your perspective is on racism. Line 8689. Your line is open, 8689. What is your perspective on racism? All right, we'll move on. We don't know. I don't know if that person has their line muted. Line 9052 will come back to you. We're going to open up your line again and try to get your perspective on racism. Line 9052. Your line is open, 9052. Okay, we're going to move on. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and let the person who messaged me respond. All right, line 8158. Your line is open, line 8158. Go ahead and respond.
Yes, I wanted to respond to the brother that spoke before, the last gentleman. I find it interesting that when I mentioned the Little Bootsy perspective and the black-on-black crime in the neighborhoods, and I say, hey, let's look here, let's work here. He mentioned, oh, well, crime in white neighborhoods, the statistics show that they have more. Okay, but what are we going to do about what's going on in our neighborhoods? Now, in my neighborhood, there's not, a lot of crime. I have lived in a neighborhood where there have been crimes, and I've been unaffected. But, that's just I do what I can. If I had a neighborhood where there was crime, I would do something about it. I go out, talk to people in the community, just different things like that. But it just seems like the focus is scattered by not focusing on what is going on in our direct environment. Sometimes we can watch the news. We can hear someone else's perspective, hear what's going on with someone else so much and feel like, oh, it's happened to us, oh, this is going on. But if we put those things down and actually look around at what we have to work with, and not compare ourselves to someone else, not compare ourselves to statistics, compare ourselves to our own progress, compare ourselves to where we were yesterday, compare ourselves to where we were last month, last year, 5 years ago. Where are we going in 5 years? Then when we get there, compare ourselves to where we planned on being and where we are. Those are the comparisons that I feel can actually make progress in our society. And regarding the last gentleman that spoke, I agree with his stance about race is just like religion nowadays.
Was that your thoughts? Was that it?
Yes.
Okay. Anyone wants to respond to that? The fact that there are individuals in our group who believes that racism is like religion. I'm going to open up the line. I'm going to open up 7247. I want to know your thoughts about that. Is racism? Is it a possibility that racism is nothing more than just some type of religion that's going on, in your opinion? Your line is open, 7247.
Yes, I'll say that this is great because I'm learning just like you, I feel, in some ways, and I'll be transparent and say that's probably a new concept too that I haven't really pondered on, and I agree. I believe in that possibility, and I never really looked at it in somewhat of that fashion before. And it's, I don't want to speak too deeply on it because this is something, this is something new that's coming to me now, and I would like to do some research on it myself. So I
can respect that, King.
I believe it's a possibility that racism could be instituted, to keep us oppressed, or to keep multiple different, I guess, types of people oppressed now, if you want to put it like that, especially the African American people. Because now the question is, how do we even identify that? Because now it's not considered race, So this is, it's a new concept to me now. I'm very fond of that, and I'll be transparent to say that. So.
Okay, that's great. This is what progress is to me. Just being open to possibility. That's what it's about. The fact that he said he would go and do some research on it, he doesn't waver in his position. What he's saying is he's very open to seeing if that's the case, because this is a new perspective on what may be transpiring as far as racism. Now, I want to give everyone a chance to speak. I really do. There are some lines that I keep coming back to open, because I feel like if once we're finished with this call, you may be upset that I didn't open up your line, and I'm trying to hear you. Some of you who may be on the line may be very more than vocal in the group, and here's a chance for you to speak up, especially if you feel like you're hearing something that you can't agree with or resonate with. I'm going to go ahead and try to open up line. I'm going to go ahead and open up line. I think somebody left. I'm going to open up line 9027. Your line is open. Any thoughts on what you just heard?
Well, yeah, you came back to me again. I can pontificate on the notion of race being your religion. I don't know if that's something that you want me to do. I don't know if you want to move on to someone else.
Let me try and open up one more line. Let me try and open up one more line and see, because I've been trying to get this individual, I believe, to respond. Line 3177. Your line is open. line 3177. Your line is open. Any thoughts?
Yeah, what the sister said, I didn't mean to if I offended her. Am I on? Are you speaking to me? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, I was saying to what she said about the thing where I used the reference about little Boosie. I was just saying it to like put a perspective out there of what I thought about the crime statistics, but she is right about where she stands about where do we start? Because where do we start? We are a nation. We're the most influential and powerful people there are. The reason why we don't have a race is because we're letting everybody take it from us. And I can honestly say that. She is right on everything that she said. I didn't try to offend her, but we let everybody steal from us. Look at our hip-hop. Hip-hop was one of the main things that we had nowadays. Back in the days, she said, where were we back 5 years ago? Where were we 10 years ago? Well, 5 years ago, it was like we was almost up that ladder. But now we're not up that ladder anymore because we're letting other people take what we have. You can walk around nowadays and you can see, and I'm still pertaining to this race issue, what you're saying. When it comes down to it, you walk around and you see, I'm not trying to offend any race that's out there, but you walk around and you see people wearing dreadlocks. That's not a fashion. That's a spirituality thing. You got people walking around wearing Michael Jordans and don't even know that Michael Jordan is a black man. I know because I've asked these questions to people, and you got people that's walking around taking everything that we have. So we as a race, we really have to start with ourselves. If you was to walk to a closed-minded man and you was to tell this man about his race and how valuable he was, he'd probably make fun of you and say, excuse me for using this term, I don't want to hear that mess, nigga. I'm just like any other nigga that's out there. Well, if he was to see the value of himself, he'd call himself a black man, and that's where we'd be able to start our race off, is by calling ourselves what we truly are, a black man, black woman. As soon as we start noticing these things, we will build up another nation. We will build up a race. But until then, I see us as a sleeping race. If I was in any kind of urban community where it's predominantly black, if I go to Memphis, if I go to Atlanta, if I go to Baltimore, I will always make sure I touch someone just to let them know the value of themselves. We can't always think of ourselves as a race until everybody else thinks the same like us. It has to be someone that has to have a powerful voice to get across to somebody. Now, if you was to look at Bill Cosby is he's trying to start a race off. He's been trying to start a race off since he's been popular. But the media sees that, and every time a black man builds himself up, they will knock you down. I just found out the other day he's worth over $500 million. Now, if you was to take all of that $500 million, you could build up a whole community by itself. That is worth. And Bill Cosby is willing to do that. That's starting off a whole nother race. We're that powerful enough to where somebody can see us and say, I don't want that to happen. Imagine what could happen if at least 10 conscious minds woke up. We could rule a whole nation. We'd be a race again, back like in the 60s and the 50s. What my grandma said when Malcolm X was assassinated and Martin Luther King was assassinated, when the integration thing came along, that's when the black race was destroyed. If we were still to ourselves back in the day, like in the 20s, 30s, and 40s, where there was no integration, then I think the black people would be revived. We have to start looking at ourselves before we look at everybody else, and we want to be part of them. Like, I live in the suburbs, but I do not integrate with anyone because I have to work on my own people. Every time I see another black person that's out here that's like me, I try to work with them before I will say I can work with another white person. I'm not trying to sound like I'm racist, but that's the way I look out. You got to look at home first before you look at the next person to see what they got going on in their garden. I learn what they learn. The white people learn. I learn what their race learns, and I will take it back to my people to try to show them these are the things that they know. Like my grandma would always say, my grandma would always say, learn everything that they know, because they know things that you will never know. And it's things that we know that they know everything about. So how come we can't learn the knowledges that they learn? We can't learn those amendments that they got. We can't learn to use those rifles and everything that they got. Because if they can arm themselves, we should be able to arm ourselves again. I do reiterate, what we learn and what we put out towards each other, we can build another race. I believe in the black race will awaken itself, but not in my generation. I don't think it'll ever happen.
Wow. I want to hear some responses to this speaker, and I want the response to really touch on the point the brother was making about integration and how integration affected us. I'm going to open up the line. I'm going to open up line 8158, and I'll let you respond. 8158, your line is open.
Yes, sir. I would like to let you know, no, sir, I wasn't offended by anything you said. What I see is, okay, when we see the Native Americans, they didn't own the land. They didn't say, this is mine. They felt like it was free to share with everyone. When we say we have to work at home, home to me is the planet Earth. That's home for us all. The conscious role models that I have, the people who I consider to be conscious, who actually, resonate with me, are open to all people. They don't just divide the human race and say, I'm just going to help these people because they look like me. They help people who they have common interests with and similarities with, regardless of, what they look like, regardless of external appearances. And, there's nothing new under the sun. If people didn't feel like, hey, this is a part of my culture, why are you using my culture? Why are you taking credit for something that's mine when, okay, you're saying it's yours, but it's really something that, some other people, a group of people, or a small group of people who look like you did, and because they look like you, you're saying, oh, that's ours. That's something that we did. But what if we looked at, Europeans, or looked at Caucasians or white people, or whatever you want to call these people who people are not trying to help? What if we look at them and say, they're ours too? That's our responsibility too. It's our responsibility to the earth and to the planet to make sure that we all get this thing together. And I know you were talking about, integration, and, I've read and theorized about a lot of things that say, blacks were better when they had their own schools because they were learning more about themselves and this, that, and the other. However, integration could work if people didn't feel separated or segregated in the first place. I mean, we're already integrated on the earth. Our institutions are integrated. It's just that we see things as being separate. And I'll just leave it there.
Okay. 7247, your thoughts about integration and what was said. 7247, your line is open.
Oh, I'm sorry, my line is muted. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yes. Okay. So yeah, my perspective on integration, and this is where I guess my perspective comes back from having where we talked about knowing who we are and knowing how we could all work together. Because yes, I'm African American, but I'm also Puerto Rican, and in my family I have a couple of my brothers. They're married to white women, and some of my sisters-in-laws, I can honestly say they're some of the most, they're actually more probably loving towards me than some of my actual black brothers and sisters. They're more open and more loving. They have a gender, and so my thing is, I think integration, I know there has to be a fine balance, and I know sometimes with especially African American families, it can be easier for some people to say, well, no, we got focus on our own, just do our thing, and when most of the family is African American, and I can respect that. But at the same time, there's those that we have certain, we might have other certain mixes in the family. So to me, it's where do we find that balance where we don't become racist ourselves and push those people away because we're trying to, be pro-black, which I don't think is wrong, but at the same time, I think that will create separation if there isn't a sensitivity to it. I actually, just real quick, I came out to my girlfriend's brother's house this morning, and her brother is married to a white woman, and the woman's not here, but her father came. So she comes to take care of some of the kids. So when I saw this man, and I haven't seen him for a couple of months, I said, "Hey, how you doing?" And the man just threw me in his arms and he hugged me and said, "Hey, how are you?" He was just so open and so, cordial and that. And the thing is, how can I, being a black man, being a man of integrity, find the balance of not being racist towards him, of showing him still love, but also, making sure that my family still is educated, make sure I'm still educated, but being able to have integration, but also being able at the same time have integration, but not separation. So I'm not even presenting the answer here. I'm presenting the question of a possibility, and maybe somebody else could even answer that after the question and answer now is addressed. Because I do believe in integration, but I don't believe in oppression at the same time. So how do we find that balance where we don't become the oppressor because we're trying to get away from the oppressor?
Wow.
I'll leave it at that. Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go back and I believe that was 3177 who presented the question originally. I'm going to open up your line. Is integration even possible with oppression being perceived? 3177. Is integration even a possibility to you?
I'm not trying to strike a chord with anyone. I'm not trying to sound like Marcus Garvey or Jomo Kenyatta. And I'm not trying to sound like McIntyre or anything, but I'm gonna strike a chord with some of y'all. And this is an old saying: "I will make you my enemy by telling you the truth." So when I say this, I probably get, like I said, I'm gonna reiterate, I'm gonna make some of y'all enemies, but I do believe that we have to not be integrated. It's like coffee. As soon as you mix it up with cream, it becomes weak. It has no value to it no more. As soon as you put cream inside of it, it becomes sweet, and when it's all black, it's strong. It wakes you up. It gives you that jolt. When you put the cream inside of it, well, it's sweet and it's all creamy and everything, and it gets you back sleepy and tired. So when it comes down to it, I think that if the Aryan nation can have as much non-integration with them and they can become a nation, how come we can't do what they do? And we can say, well, not to be racist, to say, well, I'm going to kill every black man and every white man and every baby. No, I don't mean it like that. I mean it like we just become a community. We do the things that we should be doing, like building banks. If it took 4 people to go to an island and build a bank that can control the United States of America and the world, how come black people can't do that? Get 10 people to say, man, we're going to get together and we're going to make a bank. Now, that's $1 million. That's a meal ticket, as they would say nowadays. But until we learn how to start becoming integrated, until we start to segregate ourselves from them, then we'll never be a race. And I really mean that. Once we start opening up our doors, like I reiterate, I live in the suburbs. I can tell you what they really think about us. Even the ones that are open-minded, they will say the same things. You guys will never be revived unless you believe in yourselves until you start to build yourselves. The Rockefellers believed in themselves. They got 4 people to go to an island, and they own the central banks of the world, the United States. How come we can't do that? We can go out and we can buy Michael Jordans, we can buy all these other types of things, and we call ourselves this race when we go to a club? That's not a race. That's just a nightly thing that we're doing, and we're going to shoot the person up at the club. So becoming a race is building up a bank and saying we got our children stable. And we segregating ourselves from the people. Not even it's black people out there that's Negropeans too. Let me get that out there straight, too, because you got people out there that say, oh, that's my homeboy. I'd rather die for this person. And they'll look at me and they'll say, man, you just racist. No, I'm not racist. I have a biracial daughter when it comes down to this. I know what I teach her. You know, how come we can't teach our children these things to say, man, you need to become segregated first before you try to integrate with everybody else. Malcolm X even said the same thing. Only thing I like integrated, he said, I don't even like my coffee integrated, because he already knew the value of that. The more we constantly keep trying to integrate with these people, the more we're going to continue to let them take from us. Yeah, I heard the sister say, well, what are we saying that they took? You really want to think about it. What did the white man really say that he made for himself? What did he really invent? Nothing. Everything that he took from somebody else. And I'm going to constantly keep stamping this in you guys' head. I'm not racist, but it's to come across how things are. You know, white people even said that French fries, they came up with French fries. French come from the French country. Hamburgers come from Germany. You know, collard greens come from us. So what really can the Europeans say that he has, that he made, that he invented? Black people are the greatest inventors there is. We're almost, if you really want to think of it in this aspect, we're almost like gods, and they take from us. So us, as I'm gonna say this, we're gods and we're royal. We need to segregate, because to build up a nation, if we don't build up a nation like the Rockefellers did, then we're gonna always be empire lovers, scandal lovers, Michael Jordan lovers, and we're gonna always try to impress the opposer. But the opposer is always gonna have the upper hand. And I just want to say that when it comes down to it, because I don't want my daughter, I'm going to be honest with you, I don't want my daughter going out and saying that she's going to be with somebody else, and she's biracial. I don't want my daughter going out being with a man that already knows how to make money, you know, because white people got that installed in them. So what I'm going to teach her, I would want her to go to a man that has nothing and teach him. Because a woman is the first teacher, I want her to teach him to say, look, let's build up this nation. We can start our own thing off. We can have a store. We can start buying from black business. So, yeah, I do believe in segregation. To the max, I believe in it. But I don't believe in it as a negative thing. I believe that we need to build on ourselves, because love starts at home. You know, and home, when I say home, I mean home as the black people. I'm 100% Pan-Africanism as it goes down to it. So let's do this. That's what I say. Let's build a bank. Let's do this.
All right. I know we went over our allotted time, and I believe in integrity. That's just who I am. That's just what I do. It's 1:03, and I do not know who's on this line that has prior obligations and commitments to keep. And this is why the call was from 12 to 1. So what we're going to do is we're going to continue this discussion next Saturday, because I don't have a speaker lined up for next Saturday until about 7 p.m. and I'm going to have to confirm with him. But let's continue this discussion. I'm getting messages now from people who said they were on the call, they couldn't speak, they hung up, this, that, and the third. So I'm going to address this in the group. But I appreciate all of you who are on the call, and let's keep this conversation going next Saturday at 12. I want to thank you so much for being on the call. Enjoy the rest of your day and the rest of your weekend. We'll meet here next Saturday at 12 p.m. to keep the conversation going. I'm going to address those individuals who want to address me now but did not have the courage like you all had to get on the call and say something. So, again, thank you. God bless. We'll meet again.